Hare Krishna.
A very, very warm welcome, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Very, very happy to have you with us today. And you are actually inaugurating the start of a new series of classes. We usually have these morning classes dedicated to the cultivation of Vaishnava qualities and values. And we are now introducing a new series of classes, which will be part of a program that we have called Vrindavan Experience, by which, because we are teaching online, we want devotees to come and stay in Vrindavan in their minds. So you are inaugurating this series today, and it's great happiness. So please start. We have about 1 hour, and devotees have joined already, and more of them will join. These are students across Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta, as well as Bhakti Sadachar, and a few staff and guests.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you, Prabhu.
All right, very good. So we're also very delighted to be here with VIHE after a long time. Sorry we couldn't come there, but it's a little too cold for me to venture outside. I'm an old California boy, so I don't like this cold weather. So anyway, for our Vrindavan experience, I thought I'd take everybody to Madhuvan. Because we don't often go there, although it's very close to the temple. And many of our favorite pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam happened in Madhuvan. So we hope everybody's safe and sound and healthy. And we wish all good fortune to you. So we just sang Guru Puja, so I don't think there's need of it singing any songs. So because it takes quite a long time to cover Madhuvan, actually. Anyway. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Jati Svapadantikam Adadanas Trinandandai Ridamya Che Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindhuvevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So as I was saying, Madhuvan is very close by, not far from our temple actually. You just go down the Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg to the Delhi highway, but you turn the opposite way towards, excuse me, towards Agra. And just after about 10, 12 minutes or so, you'll see this big imitation of the Taj Mahal on your right side. Sometimes a little tricky to get there because there's a overpass or something, so you have to go underneath, and then we have to go the wrong way for about 50 meters or so. And right beside that big building, which is known as Jai Gurudev, the road to Madhuvan is there. And we go down that road, and off to our left, we'll see a little hill, and then there's a little sign that says Dhruv Tila. So we have to turn left there, and we follow the road down to very beautiful forest. We came to Vrindavan expecting to see forest. This is what we were expecting to experience, was forest. But we got to Vrindavan and it looked just like our hometown, New York or Los Angeles or wherever we're from. Big buildings and traffic, and especially on Sundays, it will take you almost, even if you're walking, it'll take you quite some time to get from the guest house road to the MBT road. But to speak if you're in a car in this huge, we never expected to see traffic in Vrindavan. We never expected to experience that. When I first joined here, if we saw 2 cars in one day, that was traffic. So anyway, this hill is known as Dhruv Tila, because this is where Dhruva Maharaj performed his pastimes. Because this Madhuvan is famous in all the 4 yugas. Because way back in Satya Yuga, there was a great king named Maharaj Uttana Pada. And he had a very chaste wife named Suniti. And Suniti's son was Dhruva. And since kings, they were allowed to have more than one wife, he had another wife, who was a younger one. Her name was Suruchi. And just now it's slipping my brain since COVID, funny things happen to my brain. I can't remember her name. Uttam. All right, his name was Uttam. So, and as the nature of things in this material world, Maharaj Uttanapada, he became more attracted to the younger wife. This is the way things go in this world. So much so that one time, Dhruva was trying to crawl on the lap of his father. And Suruchi, with very cruel words, she said, you're not born from my womb. You have no right to sit there. You get down. Dhruva Maharaj, he was a Kshatriya, though very young, he could understand the politics, that she was going to use her influence over the Maharaj Uttanapada to make her son the king. Although technically the eldest son should become the king, because she had Maharaj Uttanapada under her control. So Dhruva Maharaj, he understood all this. And his Kshatriya blood was boiling. And he ran to Mother Sunita and explained the situation. And she said, what can I do? Your father's more attached to the younger wife. Only God can help you. So Dhruva Maharaj said, where is this God? And Srila Prabhupada explains in one lecture that she was a very simple woman. So she said, I don't know, but all the sadhus and rishis, they go to the forest. So it may be that God lives in the forest. So Dhruva Maharaj, he was very determined. All right, I'm going to the forest. He was leaving the kingly life, princely life, actually, and go to the forest to find out God, find out Bhagwan. So his mother tried to stop him, but he was determined. He took off from the palace. And Prabhupada explains that when one tries to find out God, then Krishna sends the guru, the spiritual master, to help one. So then Narad Muni appeared on the scene. So Narad Muni said, my dear boy, where are you going? So he said, I want to find out Bhagwan, so I'm going to the forest to find out this Bhagwan. And Narad Muni said, wait a minute, you're a prince, you're used to nice soft bed and puri and sandesh, paneer sabji, fried in pure ghee. Where will you find these things in the forest? Better you go home. And Srila Prabhupada said, Dhruv Maharaj said, look, my dear sir, if you can tell me something how to find out Krishna, then you speak. Otherwise, you be quiet. There's Narada Muni told him, better you go home. You can do your Krishna consciousness as well. Just like we see here, especially in Bharat, if some young boy joins the ashram, immediately the mother and father come running. And the mother is crying. She's wailing piteously. But you can do your Krishna consciousness at home. Why do you have to live in the temple? So Dhruva Maharaj, he was very determined. So when Narada Muni saw his determination, then he told him, Tatata gacha badram te jamunayas tatam suchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanidyam nityada hare. He said, I wish all good fortune, badram te. You go to Gacha, which means to go. You go to Yamunayas Tatam Suchi, to the bank of the Jamuna that is, no, listen, he says Suchi. Now when we see Jamuna, we cry. She's no longer Suchi except in the rainy season. We were just here in the rainy season and she was so wide and so beautiful and clear water. But most of the time we see Jamuna is very polluted. It just breaks our heart. Punyam madhuvanam yatra. You go to that punyam, that pious forest of Madhuvam. So this is Satyug, and Narada Muni was famous even in Satyug. He said, you go to this Madhuvan. Punyam madhuvanam yatra. Sanidyam nityada hare. Where it is very easy to draw close to the Supreme Lord. Now sometimes people, they challenge, what's so special about Vrindavan? God is everywhere. So we say, yes, just like water, water's everywhere. But if you go to Bengal, if you dig 3 feet, you get water. And if you go to Jaipur, then you have to dig 300 feet. So water is everywhere, someplace easily available, sometimes not so easily available. So Vrindavan is very, very special place, easy to approach the Lord. In fact, in the purport to that verse, Prabhupada explains that unless one is, I said there are many holy places. Dham means holy place. Many holy places like Prayag, Varanasi, and Mathura, and above all of them is Vrindavan. So one who is not very advanced is advised to go and perform devotional service in Vrindavan. But one who is very advanced, like Narada Muni, he can go anywhere and be Krishna conscious. So now I finally understood when I read this purport, I understood why I stay in Vrindavan. I'm so fallen, I can't make it anywhere else, so I have to stay here. As Prabhupada said, this is a place for those who are not advanced. And very easy, Sanidyam Nityada Hare. Just like one time our head pujari, Mukunda Datta, he went to Europe. And while visiting Europe, he came to Italy. Somehow, because he was from the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, he got audience with the Pope. And he was sitting and talking with the Pope, and he saw this solid gold phone was sitting there. And Pope noticed that he was seeing it. He said, yes, it's a direct line. You went to call? He said, no, that's all right. He said, go ahead, call. So Mukunda Datta, he picked up the phone. He talked for some while. He put the phone down. He said, how much was it? He said, no, it's not, you're my guest. He said, no, I can't come and use your phone and not pay. He said, no, you're my guest. He said, no. So finally he insisted. So he said, all right, $323. So Mukunda paid him. And then he left. Then one day, the Pope, he came to India. And he arrived in Delhi. Then he remembered that there was this Mukunda Datta in Vrindavan, just 90 miles south of Delhi. So he came to see Mukunda Datta. And Mukunda Datta took him to his office and they were talking, and the Pope saw there was gold phone there. And Mukunda said, yes, I have one too. You want to talk? He said, no, that's all right. He said, go ahead, talk. So he picked up the phone. He said, I don't know what to do. These Hare Krishnas are coming and buying all our old churches and turning it into the temples. What should we do? So then he hung up. He said, how much is? No, it's nothing. Mukunda said, nothing. You don't worry about it. No, I can't come in. No, it's nothing. No, I can't use your phone. He's already 2 rupees. 2 rupees? Yes, local call. So Sanidhyam Nitidahare, very easy to approach the Lord here in Vrindavan. Then he gave you the instructions. Natvana savanam sutasmin, Kalindya shalile shive, in the auspicious waters of Kalindi. Just imagine those days. Kritvo chitani nivasan, atmana kalpitasana. And you take your asana and you perform your meditation there on the banks of the Jamuna. Actually, now Jamuna is not very far from Madhuvan. It's there in Mathura. In fact, in Mathura, this is one of the best places on Braj Prikama, because we walk 5 kilometers and we're there. Sometimes we walk 20, 25 kilometers, but 5 kilometers we're there in Madhuvan, and we're on Braj Prikama. It yuktas tam parakramya pranamya cha nripa baka yayo madhuvanam punyam haris charna charchitam. So Narmuni, he did Prikama 3 times. Excuse me, not Narmuni. Dhruva Maharaj, he did Prikama 3 times around Narmuni. He paid his obeisances. And Yayo, he left for Madhuvanam Punyam, that pious forest of Madhuvan. This is Satyu, remember. Haresh Charna Charchitam, that is always marked with the footprints of Krishna, Hari. Just like we remember the pastime of Akrura, when he came to Vrindavan. He got down off his chariot as soon as he saw the mark of Krishna's feet in the sand, dust of Vrindavan, the Braj dust. So it is anointed, Charchitam, it is anointed with the lotus footprints of Krishna, such a special place. So he headed off to Madhuvan. Meanwhile, it's not in Srimad Bhagavatam, but one time in 1989, I was at the Kumbh Mela. In those days, we didn't have digital screens and things like that, so they had this 15 by 15 rear projection screens that they set up all over the Kumbh area. They were projecting from behind, regular, if you remember those things, regular projectors. And they were showing all dharmic films and advertising their products. So they were showing Ramayan, Mahabharat, Turning of the Ocean of Milk, Nrsingadev, all these things. So one night they were showing Dhruva Maharaj. So I stopped to watch. So after Dhruva Maharaj left the palace, then Maharaj Uttanapada, he immediately got ready to go and bring Dhruva back. And Suruchi, she got word that he was leaving. So she immediately came, and Prabhupada said, the secret weapon of the woman is tears. So she began to cry, oh, you're leaving, you're all alone. And she was crying. So Maharaj Uttanapada, he couldn't go. So off Dhruva Maharaj went to Madhuvan. And he was very determined. The first month, he was eating only berries that monkeys eat. And not even every day, every 3rd day. Just imagine we take you on Braj Prikam, we say, we're going to feed you every 3 days. After 1 month, he thought, wow, I'm really a sense enjoyer, eating every 3 days. Now I'll just drink, I will take dry leaves and eat them every 6 days. Then another month went past and he said, really enjoying my senses. I'm just going to drink water every 9 days. After another month passed, he said, wow, I'm going to drink water every 12 days. Finally, he decided for the 5th month, he said, I will stop breathing altogether. And he took one breath. But by this time, he was deeply meditating on the Lord. He was practically identifying himself with the Lord, who's identified with everything.
Breathing altogether.
And so he, in fact, when he would wobble, just imagine, he was standing on one foot with hands raised in the sky. So sometimes he'd wobble, because in that position you sometimes wobble. But instead of him wobbling, the earth underneath his toe, the whole Bhumandala, was shaking. And all the demigods became a little worried. And when he finally stopped breathing, because he had identified himself with the whole universe, he stopped the universal breathing. Everyone went to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, he started the universal breathing. Then they went to the shore of the ocean of milk. And Lord said, don't worry, it's just my devotee. I will go see him and take care of everything. Don't worry. So Dhruva Maharaj, he was meditating in the Lord within his heart. Suddenly the Lord disappeared from his heart. And he tried his mechanical meditation again. And Lord wasn't coming in his heart. Suddenly he opened his eyes. And there was a Lord standing right in front of him. Standing right in front of him. Now he's just a 5-year-old boy. What is he going to say? What prayer is he going to give? So Bhagavatam explains, Lord Vishnu touched him with his conch shell. And then he offered so many beautiful prayers to the Lord. Then the Lord said, all right, Dhruva, what is it that you want? And from some other Purana, Prabhupada takes this verse, very beautiful verse. Swami kritartosmi bharam yache. Kritarth means to be fully satisfied. Maybe you've heard on the recordings, I must say tapes, but we don't have those anymore. On the recording, Prabhupada saying, fully satisfied. Then you understand what is full satisfaction. I don't want anything. And Lord said, what is this? You left the kingly palace. You're sleeping on dry grass and hardly eating anything. You gave up eating altogether. Now you say you don't want anything. What is the reason for that? He said, my dear Lord, I was looking for broken pieces of glass. Just like we see on the sides of the roads, broken pieces of glass. Nobody cares for them. Of course, here in India, we care because we're stepping with bare feet, so we're watching out. But nobody cares, broken piece of glass. But if you're looking through some broken piece of glass and suddenly you find a rare jewel, how much satisfied you will be. So he said, instead of glass, I found a very rare jewel. I found you. When I have found you, what is the use of anything else? I won't ask any biddination. I'm satisfied just being in your service. And Lord said, Dhruva, that's all right. Anyway, you return home. Don't worry about anything because you're a devotee of the Lord. Everyone, including your mother Suruchi, will be pleased with you. Uttama will be pleased with you. Your father will make you the king. You will rule the kingdom for many thousands of years. Then you'll go to the Dhruvalok. When we look in the sky at night in the north, we see the North Star. We call it the North Star, but in India it's called Dhruv Loka. That is a Vaikuntha planet within this universe. When this universe is destroyed, that planet will not be destroyed. So he's living there on Dhruvaloka along with Lord Vishnu. Uh, uh, uh. So he said, don't worry, after you'll enjoy the kingdom, then you'll come to my Vaikuntha planet. So then Dhruva Maharaj went home. Sure enough, his mother Sarushi met him with tears in her eyes. Uttam also embraced him. His father and mother were very happy. Eventually he became the king. He ruled for many, many thousands of years. And then he went to the Dhruvaloka. So this all happened in Satyuga. And is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5,000 years ago mentioned. So very famous forest. Another pastime that happened in our Satyuga that we all know from Srimad Bhagavatam is we've heard of Maharaj Ambarish. Ambarish Maharaj performed his penances here. Because remember Ambarish Maharaj from Srimad Bhagavatam. He was a very, very opulent king, but he's not known for his opulence. I've heard his kingdom was in Hoshangabad, was now known as Hoshangabad in Madhya Pradesh. And he wasn't known for his opulence, he was known for his devotion. He used to use his eyes to see the beautiful form of the Lord, his nose for smelling the incense and flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue for tasting the Mahaprasad of the Lord, his voice for glorifying the Lord, his hands for massaging the lotus feet of the Lord and sweeping the temple of the Lord, and his legs for going to the temple. Although he had hundreds and hundreds of servants, he personally worshiped the Lord as a humble servant. Like that. This is what he's known. All the 9 processes of bhakti, Navavida bhakti he performed. This is what he's famous for. So one time he decided to do this Kartik Vrat for 1 full year because it's very auspicious. Those who do not follow Akadasi, excuse me, what did I say, Kartik Vrat? He did Akadasi Vrat. Those who do not follow Akadasi will find themselves very hopelessly entangled in material existence. So what to speak of doing Akadasi in Braj? So he came here to Madhuvan. Very clearly it says, Ratante Kartike Masi, Triratram Samuposhita, Snata Kadatit Kalinyam, Harim Madhuvaner Chayat. Harim Madhuvan Ner Chayat. Madhuvan mentioned way back in Satyuga that he decided to do his Vrat beginning in Kartik, the first Ekadasi of Kartik. And when that came again, Ratante, at the end of his Vrat, Kartike Masi, he was staying in Madhuvan, taking baths sometimes, Kadasit, Kalindyam in the Kalindi. Harim Madhuvan Archaya, Archaya, we know he was worshipping the Lord in Madhuvan. So we know after 1 year, he was going to break his fast. So all the great sages and sadhus of the universe came to watch. At that time, one sadhu also came, Dharas Muni. He personally arrived there. And Maharaj Ambarish was very happy. All right, you please, before I take prasadam, you take prasad. This is our Vedic culture, that if someone comes, we feed them first, or we invite someone to take prasad, we feed them, and afterwards we take. So, but these sadhus, if you meet real sadhus, they're very, very clean. He said, first I have to take my bath. So Dharas Muni went off to take his bath. Meanwhile, the time for breaking the fast, Paran, just like we read our Vaishnav calendar, it says from 6:22 to 8:38 or 10:12 or something like that. There's a special time we have to break the fast. It's called Paran. So that time was slipping by, but still Durvas Rishi didn't return. So he consulted, all the sadhus were there, and he consulted everyone, all the Brahmins, everyone. Nobody could come up with the proper answer. Then he said, then he himself, because Krishna wanted to demonstrate that Vaishnava is superior to anyone. He said, well, in Shastra it says that drinking water is simultaneously eating and not eating. So I was doing nirjal. If I drink water, then my fast is broken. But water is eating and not eating, so I haven't eaten before my guest. Everyone said, yes, yes, that's perfect solution. So he drank some water. Just at that time, Durvas Rishi appeared. He said, what is this? You're taking water before your guest. And we know Durvas Rishi, he's very famous for being angry. So he pulled a hair from his head, dashed it to the ground, and this huge demon appeared. Ambarish Maharaj, he was a very humble Vaishnava. He didn't take any retaliatory measure. He was very humble. So Prabhupada explains in this section that the devotee may excuse an offender, but the Lord does not excuse. The dust of the lotus feet of the Lord does not refuse. So immediately Vishnu sent his Sudarshan chakra. Just cut that demon to pieces. Then because Durvas Rishi had sent the demon, it came after him. He ran off to hide in a cave or hide in the mountains, but that wherever he went, finally he went up to see Lord Indra. Indra said, look, Bhai, this is Vishnu Chakra, nothing I can do. He went to Lord Brahma. He said, hey, Bhai, ye Vishnu Chakra, hey, what can I do? He went to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva said, Arey, Bhai, ye Vishnu ka Chakra, what can I do? You have to go to Vaikuntha. But somehow he was very powerful Rishi. He went all the way to Vaikuntha to see Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu spoke a very amazing verse, one of the most amazing verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. Aham bhakta paradino. Adin means to be under the control of someone. He says, Aham bhakta paradino. I'm under the control of my devotee. Yes, for Tantra, Eva Dvija, I'm not independent. Sadhavir Grastaridayo, Bhaktar Bhakta Jana Priya. Says, Aham Bhakto Pradino, I'm under the control of my devotees. Then he spoke a very nice verse. He Sadhavo Hridayam Mayam, that all the sadhus are in my heart. Sadhunam Hridayam Tvaham. And I'm in the heart of the sadhus. Now, how is this possible? Lord is in the heart of the devotee is in the heart of the Lord. But these are the inconceivable pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. But anya te na jananti, they don't know anything except me. Naham tebyo managapi, and I don't recognize anyone except them. So Vishnu said, I'm helpless. I cannot do anything. Only you have to go beg forgiveness from Ambarish Maharaj. So he came. Now this whole journey took for 1 year. So Ambarish was standing there for 1 year waiting. Very tolerant. As soon as Durvas Rishi tried to touch his feet, Ambarish Maharaj was embarrassed. He fell on the ground and he touched the feet of Durvas Rishi. Meanwhile, that chakra went back to Lord Vishnu. And then Durvas Rishi understood the position of Vaishnava, even greater than Sadhu or Brahman. So Durvas Rishi took his meal to his full satisfaction. Then he invited Ambarish Maharaj, you please take. And then he went on his way, having learned a great lesson about the power of the devotees of the Lord. So we all know this pastime, but this happened just a little ways from our temple in Madhuban. So that was Satyug. Then and this forest is very beautiful. We came to experience forest. And there we see so many beautiful trees. Kadamba trees are there. and big, tall, we call them, what do we call those trees? Big, tall ones. Anyway, I can't think right now. Peacocks are sitting in each branch, and we hear the peacocks crying, meow, meow. And kokilas are singing. And parrots are always chattering away. A very beautiful forest. So many trees are there. Uh, uh, this is what we came to Vrindavan for. So we leave that forest, we follow the road back to the main road, then we go down into the village of Madhuvan. Through the village of Madhuvan, we come out at a lake, Kund, called Krishna Kund. This is called Krishna Kund because here Krishna and his friends used to play. So we're getting close, that's Dwapar Yuga. So anyway, we're in Treta Yuga. Now on the banks of Krishna Kund, on one side, I see there's a very wonderful temple of Shatrughan Maharaj. And years ago, used to be without any dome. But I have a very dear friend from Calcutta. Avadut Prabhu. He has put very beautiful dome on top of the temple. So what does Shatrughan? That's Ram Leela. What does that have to do with Braj? But in Treta Yuga, do you ever wonder why Treta Yuga comes? Because you can understand Treta means 3, right? So why it's the second Yuga. And Dwa, you can understand Dwa is 2. One time I went to Kathmandu, and there I met a very nice Vaishnava Brahmin who told me a story. And when I came back from Kathmandu, I went through Bihar, and there a very interesting friend named Ram Kishore Das Sankadik Mahachagi. If you write his name this way, it's taller than he is. Sri Ram Kishore Das Sankadik Mahachagi. Anyway, he told me the same story. He's a great devotee of Krishna. He comes here every Janmashtami. I have last 30 odd years I've seen him here, if I'm here. So in the beginning, there was 7 Manasaputras. They were born from the mind of Brahma. One of them was Vasistha Muni. So he gave him the duty of being the Purohit. You know Purohit? Whenever there's a marriage or there's some type of sanskar to be performed, you call the family priest, Purohit. Now nobody knows. They chant so many Sanskrit mantras, nobody knows anything, except for old ladies in Bengal. I went to a marriage in Bengal, and they hired one skinny little Purohit, and he was chanting, and all the old ladies were scolding, no, not that mantra. No, now you do this. Now you do that. They knew more than he did. But anyway, this is Purohit. It means that you also have to take some karma for doing all these different sanskars. Just like we read when the demigods came to Visvarup to ask him to give up his bones so they could kill this demon. First they wanted him to be their priest, and they said, no, this is not so good, because I have to get some reaction from this. So anyway, there's some argument over the dakshina and so many things, not so nice duty. So after some time, Visistri, she went back to Lord Brahma. He said, my dear Pita Sri, you please give me some other duty. This duty is not so nice. And Lord Brahma said, this is the beginning of the universe. There's no one else to do it. You please do this service, and I promise you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram, will come in Treta Yuga and you will become the Purohit of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he said, well, all right. But Pitasri, now it's Satyayu, then will come Tretayu, then will come Dwaparu, then will come Tretayu. It's a long way, Pitasri. So Brahma, he could understand what his meaning. He said, all right, for you, we'll change the yugas around. Tretayu will come first, then Dwaparu will come second. So he became the Purohit of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram, and then he was free from this duty. So anyway, in Treta Yuga, there was one demon, Daitya. Actually, he wasn't a demon, he was Daitya, named Madhu. And some people say Madhuvan got its name from this Madhu because he made his capital in Madhuvan. But we just read in Satyuga, they knew also about Madhuvan. So, and he was a very pious Daitya. Even though he was a Daitya, he was a very pious. He worshipped all the demigods and he was respectful to all the Brahmins. Especially he liked to worship Lord Shiva. Finally, he pleased Lord Shiva so much that Lord Shiva personally appeared and told him, I'm very pleased with your service. So I'll give you a benediction. And he took his Trishul and he made photocopy. And he handed this Trishul to Madhu Daitya. And he said, as long as this Trishul is in your hand, no demigod, no human being, nobody within the three worlds can ever conquer you. You will live peacefully. So Madhu was very happy. He prayed to please let this remain in our dynasty forever. But Lord Shiva did not say tatastu, so be it. He said it will not be. Your son will misuse it against the demigods, and after he's killed, it will return to me. And so it came to pass that though Madhu was very pious, by some quirk, he managed to get a son who was a great demon. His name was Lavanasur. Now we may have some Bengalis here, they all know Lavan. Just like here when we're serving prasad, we go namak, 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 you want some salt, huh? And if you go to Mayapur, then they'll come down the line, Loban, 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 you want some salt. So some salty asura was there, Lavanasura. And even from his child, he manifested so many inauspicious qualities. Little boys like to play war games. So they would play war, but he would actually kill his playmates and cut their heads off. He was such a demon. And he began to manifest so many bad qualities. Now the parents, they just live for the children. If the children go bad somehow, then the parents' whole life is ruined. So Madhu, he lost all his desire to rule the kingdom and everything. His family life was ruined. So he turned over everything to Lavanasur and he went off on pilgrimage. Meanwhile, Lavanasur, he became very powerful because he had this Trishul. And he stopped all yagyas in his kingdom, Madhuvan, and no sacrifices in his kingdom. He said, why are you worshiping God? There's no other God except me. Lavanasur. Lavanasur, he Bhagwan. Lavanasur is actually Bhagwan. Bhagwan Lavanasur ki. Oh, someone said Jai. There's some demon disguised as devotees amongst us. We just caught them. So he used to go and pass stool and urine on their yajna places and torment the sages. Sometimes he'd even eat them. He was such a demon. So finally, all the rishis and sages, they got together with Chavana Rishi, the son of Bhrigu. And they decided to go to Ayodhya because they'd heard Lord Ram had returned and was reigning in Ayodhya and asked for help. So they went off to Ayodhya. When the doorman told Lord Ram that Chavana Rishi and some rishis have arrived, immediately Lord Ram, the king, he personally came to the door to receive it. Yeah. And he exclaimed, whatever you want, I immediately give you that benediction. And Chavana Rishi said, wait a minute, you haven't even heard what we want. Other kings, after hearing our petition, don't even want to hear it again in dream. So Lord Ram said, all right, come in. We'll talk about it. So he called all his brothers. And Chavana Rishi began to explain about this Lavanasur. And he said, he's so powerful that there was one king, Mandata. He conquered all the kings of the earth. And finally, he went up to Indraloka and he challenged Lord Indra for a fight. Now, we always read about the fights between the demigods and the demons, but it's always the demons who go looking for the fight. The demigods are having a good time. They don't want to bother with fighting. But when they have to fight, then they fight. So Lord Indra thought, oh, this guy's come to spoil our enjoyment. Then he got an idea. Bing. He said, you've conquered all the kings of the earth except for this Lavanasur in Madhuvan. You conquer him, then we'll fight. Huh? So Mandata Maharaj is very happy. I'll finish off this king. Then I'll come back and enjoy the heaven of Indra. And Indra thought, well, this guy's finished. He's like, go on, let us enjoy Ramba, Urasi, Nacho. So Lavanasur was attacked by Mandata Maharaj. He came out with his trishul. He held his trishul. Mandata Maharaj's whole army was fried to ashes. Just Mandata Maharaj was toast fried a little bit. So he took his trishul and he had Mandata Maharaj as his Mandata Pakora. So since that time, no one even wants to hear our petition, even in dream. So then Bharat said, look, you just came back from exile. You stay here, enjoy the kingdom. This is a puny little demon. I'll go take it. No, but yeah. Then Shatrughan spoke up. Younger brother spoke up, interrupting his older brother. He said, no, but yeah, you were performing penance and austerities in Nandigram. You were worshiping the shoes of Lord Ram. You performed so many austerities. You don't bother yourself. I'll go. Then he thought, oops. Lord Ram said, yes, you go. He said, no, actually, I'm impudent. I shouldn't speak in front of my younger brother. And Lord Ram said, no. This shows your good qualities. You're the one that's qualified to do this. Because no one can accept his faults. Our great sage in America, Murphy, he says, to err is human, but to blame it on someone else is more human. He said, you admitted your faults. No one can do that. So you're qualified. So you go and take care of this demon. He said, all right, but you know that Brahadidi that you brought back from Lanka, that was originally worshipped by Lord Brahma all the way in the beginning of the universe, you please let me take that Brahadidi with me. So therefore, if you know where to look next to Dwarkadish temple in Mathura, you'll find this old Lal Baraha that's coming. Bhaktisiddhanta has written in the book that the Pandit there keeps, this whole story that he's coming all the way down from Lord Brahma to Lanka to Ayodhya, finally to Mathura. So Lord Ram said, yes, you take him with you. So then when they were just outside of Madhuvan, they camped on the way to Madhuvan, they passed through Bitur, just near Kanpur, where we have a beautiful ISKCON temple. And this was the ashram of Valmiki Muni. And they arrived there the very day that Mother Sita gave birth to Lava and Kush. So Shatrughan, hidden in the forest, he paid his obeisance. He didn't want to embarrass Mother Sita. He did prikrama in the forest, hiding himself. And then they took Valmiki Rishi's benediction and they left. When they were camped out just before the forest, Chavana Rishi explained to Shatrughan that if you must find this demon without the Trishul. Because as long as he has that Trishul, even you, Shatrughan, the younger brother of Lord Ram, will not be able to defeat him. But every morning he goes for hunting, he takes a spear. If you catch him at that time without letting him enter his palace, then there's some hope. So early in the morning, Shatrughan stood in front of the eastern gateway of the palace, and he said, I am Shatrughan, younger brother of Lord Ram, and I challenge you to a fight. And Lavanasura began to laugh. Ha, 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 ha. Because on his sword, on his shul, his spear, he had several tigers, a lion, crocodile, so many wild boars. He just killed these with his spear. He said, I'm going to have you for dessert. Just a minute, let me go get my weapons and we'll fight. And Shatrughan said, no, we have to fight now. You're just using this as an excuse because you're a coward. You want to run away under the excuse of getting your weapons. But how can a Kshatriya fight without weapons? If you don't have any weapons, what did you kill all these animals with? You fight me with that shul right now. So they got ready. They had a huge fight. Finally, Lavanasura was ripping up trees and boulders and throwing them at such fury that finally Shatrughan lost his consciousness. And all the demigods in the heavens, they began to cry, alas, alas. Now tell me, did you ever hear anybody call alas, alas? I never did either. But somehow all the books say that. So hearing their voices, he revived. Then he remembered he had this special arrow that Lord Ram had given him. He pulled it from his quiver. It had a head like a thunderbolt. As soon as he took it from the quiver, it began to glow. As soon as he set it to his bow, the whole world began to shake. And Lavanasura got ready with his shul. And Shatrughan fired that arrow, and shrieking like a peacock in flight. Have you ever heard of peacock in flight? We always hear them singing, meow, meow, very beautiful. Now we don't hear them anymore, unfortunately. We don't experience, as our Vrindavan experience, we don't experience peacocks anymore. You have to go way in the edge of Vrindavan or to some forest like Madhuvan. But sometimes if you actually frighten a peacock and it flies away, so shrieking like a peacock in flight, the arrow pierced the heart of Lavanasura and returned to the quiver. And Lavanasura fell down dead, and his blood went into the ground. And some of the Brishvasis say that's why all the water is salty, because of this Lavanasura blood. Of course, we know it's because of the gopis were crying. But anyway, and the Trishul came out of the palace and returned back to Lord Shiva. So Shatrughan made his capital in Madhuvan. At that time, it became known as Madhupuri. And then finally, he became known as Mathura, because Mathura and Madhuvan are practically the same. And so this is Treta Yuga. Then Dwapar Yuga, we know this is Krishna Kund. You hear Krishna and all the cowherd boys, they used to come and sport in the water. There's one song we usually sing, we don't have time today, but one of the verses, Madhuvaname Rasa Rachayo. That sometimes in the springtime, Krishna would do Ras in this place. Ras Leela in this place. So in Dwapar Yuga, so many wonderful pastimes of Krishna. In fact, just to commemorate, because Madhu, another meaning of Madhu is honey. So here so many honey-like pastimes of Krishna took place. And we know that Baladev, he's very fond of honey. So right next door to Krishna Kund, there's a small temple of Daoji. Because we call older brother, we call Dao. So in Braj, Balaram, he's known as Daoji. You just have a small deity there, but again, our friend Avaduta, he's making he's broken the old temple, he's making a brand new temple, very tall. And he has very, very wonderful, you see this deity of Baladev, black deity of Baladev, so wonderful. And he's installed, one Kartiki installed Baladev, next time he said Baruni and Revati. Revati and Baruni are there. Very beautiful deities in this place. In fact, if you contact me, I can send donation to Avadut to help him in his service, because he's renovating the temple. Down during this pandemic, it's very difficult for him to manage funds. So anyway, very beautiful temple is coming up. And so that's Dwapar Yuga. Now in Kali Yuga, we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the first Mahaprabhu arrived in Mathura when he left Puri on his to go to Vrindavan. First he arrived in Mathura at Vishram Ghat and took bath in all the 12 north and 12 south, and Vishram Ghat in the middle. And then he went to Madhuvan. The first forest he went to was Madhuvan. And right across the street from Krishna Kund, we see the Madhuvan Gaudiya Mat to commemorate Mahaprabhu's visit to this place. So this Madhuvan is famous in all the yugas. Satyayuga, Tretayuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga, very famous place, very wonderful, amazing place. And it's not far from here, just a little ways down the highway towards Agra. So we have a few minutes, maybe somebody out there has some questions they'd like to ask. We'll try to answer your questions for you. Otherwise, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavad
I have a
Pranam.
small question.
All right.
Prabhuji, Dhruvam, what I know is to get darshan of Lord Vishnu is very, very difficult. To approach Lord Shiva and Brahma is easy. So how is it possible that Dhruva Maharaj had darshan of Lord Vishnu in one lifetime and meditating only for 6 months? What is the background? Whether he approached in his previous lives and he got perfection in this life or so, I'm not able to understand how is it possible to have darshan in one lifetime and within 6 months of meditation?
He was very determined. That's all I can say. That's all Prabhupada mentions. Within, if you're very serious, you can realize Krishna within in few months. But Prabhupada at least told us within this lifetime. There's so many lectures Prabhupada is saying. You just, I was personally there in Los Angeles when Prabhupada said, you chant 16 rounds, you follow these 4 regular principles, and within this lifetime, you will see Krishna. And all the devotees went, Jai. Then Prabhupada looked around, he said, I guarantee it. And all the devotees went, Jai. And second time, Prabhupada said, I guarantee it. So it's guaranteed by Prabhupada. And in fact, another time in Melbourne, Australia, in the old temple, there was a very tall Vyasa. And Prabhupada gave a very heavy lecture that if you have one pinch of material desire, you will not go back to home, back to Godhead. And all the devotees went, hopeless. So in the lecture, Prabhupada, I guess he saw all the hopeless faces of the devotees. he took one step down. It was very high Vyasasan. He looked around at all the devotees. He said, even if you're 90% Krishna conscious, you will go back to home, Matika. And all the devotees went Jai. And he took another step down. He said, even 80%. Huh? Although he went Jai. And he took another step down. He said 75%, but no less. So it was guaranteed, and we're getting just 25% discount.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful.
So we should be inspired by Dhruva Maharaj. He had such determination. 5 years old, in 5 months, he saw the Supreme Lord. So we have to become that determined.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Any other
Hari,
questions?
Hari. Any
Hari, Hari.
other question, anyone? Okay, I don't see any hands up here.
Okay. We thank you very
Dina
much.
Bandhu Prabhu, thank you very much for taking us to Madhuban this morning. And I was remembering all the pictures in my mind. So beautiful. And Prabhupada also says, in the pastime, in the Bhagavatam, and he speaks that it was Madhuvan where Dhruva Maharaj went. I remember having many classes, sometimes taking outings on the hill. Madhuvan was very beautiful. So I was having all these pictures coming in my mind. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for taking us to Madhuvan. And
I forgot to tell, there's a big, huge temple now on top of the hill that are this Ramanriti Maharaj from Gokul Ramanriti. What's his name? Karshan something. Anyway, he's built it. There was a tiny temple there. It was broken down and not in good shape. And then my godbrother gave some donation to build a retaining, because it was on top of the temple. So it's, by erosion, it was coming down. So they wanted a retaining wall. So as soon as we built that retaining wall, then all of a sudden they took some interest in Madhuvan, and they not only made it very nice, they made a big temple on top. The middle altar, of course, is Dhruva and Narayan and Narad Muni. Then on the left altar is Lakshmi Narayan and I think Garuda. And then the far right altar, they have somebody they call Sri Hari, and some Devi temple is there. In the corner, there's a Shiva temple. Very nice. And backside, beautiful garden. There you look out, you see so many trees and so many things all around. And you experience the Vrindavan that you came here to experience.
Yes, yes. So they have kept the old deities.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful.
There was a nice sadhu there called Nrsimha Maharaj. What do they call him by Nimbu or something? I can't remember. They have some nickname for him. And he was actually a resident of Madhuvan, and he became a sannyasi, because Brishbasis are big enjoyers. They don't generally become sannyasi. But he became a sannyasi, and he lived there. And he never went anywhere in Braj. Only came sometimes to Vrindavan. He would spend the night, and he would come to Mangalartik at Krishna Balaram Mandir, and then return to Madhuvan. It's the only place I ever heard him going.
Wow.
But he got a very serious case of diabetes and left this world just about 2 or 3 years ago. Now I can't remember the sadhu who's in charge now.
It's a very
he loved
friendly,
me too
very
much.
friendly place.
Yeah.
Yes. So we stop here, Dina Bandhu Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you for coming, and thank you to all the devotees for participating. So I suppose we see you again on Friday.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.